Hey, it's Paul. This week on the episode, Sonia and I talk about boredom. What happens when you get bored, why you get bored, and how to overcome boredom. It's like actually you're going to reach a point where you're just tired of reading, tired of doing your research when you're doing book research, tired of doing field notes, and there are some tricks that you can use to overcome that boredom and to sort of keep you alert and to keep your research alive, and that's what we talk about this week. As always, if you like this episode, rate and review it. Best way to get in touch with me is through the newsletter, paulkicksnewsletter.com. But for right now, let's go right to the episode. Now that's a great story. Season 2, The Process. Hey, Sonia, how you doing?
Hi, Paul.
So, guess what's been going on this week?
I don't know.
It's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that I have so much great stuff, so many new archives to go through, and at the same time, I'm bored with it because there's too much of it.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's boring.
I have housework if you want to do that instead.
I guess I can, but I'm not really all that keen on maybe doing the housework.
Doesn't sound like your heart's in it.
No, my heart is not in it. And this last week, that's been actually the issue. My heart has not been into the very research that I need to do so I can do the book well, right? This is the Birmingham book, right? So, okay, so let's explain what's going on. We're still in a pandemic, right? We still can't go a whole lot of places. Although that's going to look like it's going to change maybe in the next couple months. We don't know. Sometime
Maybe.
soon.
Hopefully.
We'll see. We'll go on the road when we do. But for right now, the New York Times, and God bless the New York Times has its entire archive available to paying subscribers. I'm one of them. And so what I could do is I could look up all of the relevant articles related to Birmingham in the spring of 1963. And guess what I found, Sonia?
What?
221 of them.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is. So at first I was really excited because I'd get through like 4, 5, 6 a day. But ultimately, it becomes a little bit of a slog. And it's actually like this trick that the CIA I heard once used, right? If they wanted to try to put some researcher or some sort of counter-op off of their trail, what they would do is not withhold information, but just deluge them with information. And that's what's happened to me.
You have too much information.
I have just way too much information right now. And all of it seems helpful, and all of it might very well be helpful, but the problem is I'm just having a hard time staying focused. So that's the point of today's episode.
How do you need to do housework?
To both do housework and then stay focused when you're not doing the housework on the research that you need to do.
I think you'd rather do research.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay, so maybe the best thing that I have learned when it comes to how to divide one's days is actually, it comes actually from Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, he, was this meticulous notes keeper. He kept all these different journals, and one of his journal was just like literally hour by hour how he was going to attack each day. And instead of a to-do list, breaking down what he would do in any 1 hour of any given day was a great way to stay productive. This is actually something that a lot of people that study productivity find. To-do lists don't help. To-do lists are something that just start to nag you. What's much better is to think about what you will do in any 1/2 hour or any 1 hour or any 1 2-hour block. Sonia, you and I talk a little bit about like how we both, when we're working, we both try to divide our days into blocks. I have like basically 3 different blocks for what I call creativity, right? And then that's from like when I get up in the morning until about noon or 1. And we've talked a little bit in the past about this idea of make versus manage, right? So that is an idea that's inspired by Benjamin Franklin, and I found it to be incredibly helpful. However, when I would reach that hour of the day where I was just supposed to be doing my research for the book, I wasn't doing my research for the book. Why?
Because you were bored.
Yes, I was getting bored with the research. And there wasn't actually anything boring with the research.
I personally think at this point you should have taken a break, and done some housework.
And maybe I will just after this episode. Maybe that's what I should be doing.
Yep.
But it was this problem of the deluge, right? Like I just had so much that I had to get through that every day getting through any of it just became a chore. All right. So I actually feel that this is something that a lot of us will face. I faced it in the last book when I was in Paris, every day having to go to the archives day after day. It was actually a little bit of a chore. The couple of trips to Paris, I mean, you weren't with me for a couple of them, but I would also say that they weren't all that much fun, primarily because
I wasn't there.
but then also because
I wasn't there.
But then thirdly, because there was just so much to do.
Oh.
There was just so much to do, and when there's so much to do, sometimes you can get bored or you can get overwhelmed. So here's how to perhaps go at that. This is what I've been doing over the last week, and it's been helping quite a bit.
What?
I have tried something called the Pomodoro Technique. And the Pomodoro Technique is pretty simple. What you do is you divide any 1 hour into a 25-minute block of creativity or work and then a 5-minute block of rest. And then you repeat. This has worked for me in the past when I've been writing, but I've started to apply it for this, just the research itself. And I got to say, instead of thinking about all the articles that I have to do, in the last probably 4 or 5 days, I started to think instead about, okay, here are the number of articles that I can probably read in the next, 60 to 90 minutes. However long I want to give it before my brain just starts to say, boy, this is a lot of newspaper articles to have to slog through, right? So I'll read for 25 minutes. I'll take notes on those articles, and then in that 5-minute block, what I should be doing, honestly, is housework.
You should be doing the dishes.
I don't know why I'm not doing the dishes.
I don't either. Can I get this schedule? Because then at your 5-minute break, I'll have some stuff ready for you to do.
Maybe I can, instead of, sometimes I was just thinking I was going to do push-ups. I think it's probably much better.
Laundry.
Laundry. Let's get some laundry done.
Okay.
All right. And then I go back after that 5-minute block, and I do 25 minutes more of work, and then I try to do like another one. And when I can feel myself kind of fading and not focusing, instead of saying I've got to stay with it, at a certain point it's like, you know what, I'm done. And we got to be done because, and we talked about this in previous episodes too, we need to reach a certain point in the day where we're like, okay, we've got a lot of different projects to manage, right? So even though that this book is our primary focus, it actually can't take up all the hours of our day. Laundry and
life.
Laundry, yes, and
life.
dishes aside, like you and I are managing something like 6-7 different projects right now.
Yes, and then on top of that, we have a family. Groceries. We have dogs to take care of. We have a lot of stuff going on.
We have 3 elderly pugs.
Yes. Hopefully we'll be adopting more.
Oh, please, no.
Yes.
I don't want any more dogs.
What I think is interesting, though, is how you manage to balance the incredible, just the volume of work that you have to do with taking on these other obligations of just not even like the projects that we have, but just family, just work that you do with the church or anything. Yeah. There's a lot going on. And so
But don't you think that like, this is also maybe ties in with the Pomodoro Technique too. Any one day needs to have a certain sense of balance. And you and I both sort of try to strive for this, right? Sometimes we do it better than others. I always try to take some time to exercise. I always try to take some time to go for a walk. I always try to take some time to hang out with the kids a little bit. I always try to take some time to of course, to be with you, right? You're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I am. But I think we approach it a little bit differently. I like to-do lists. They're very helpful to me.
You don't find them nagging?
No. I love to-do lists. Even when I was writing, I always had a to-do list for my writing. And I think I approach research a little bit different. Now, granted, I never did anything the magnitude that you do, but I always found lists. I think what's easier for me to do because, I was the one when the kids were little who was, I had to learn how to multitask very quickly and shift my focus from one project to the other. It's much easier, I think, for me to multitask is a bad word, but
It really is, because that's not what it is.
no, but
you actually need to stay focused on that thing.
And I think it's very hard. Like if you're, we joke about housework, but if you're in the middle of researching and I say, I need you to come and cut the grass, it's very hard for you to stop what you're doing, go cut the grass, and maybe come back and get in the same frame of mind to do that work again.
But sometimes what is helpful, and this is another sort of idea that's Franklin-esque and Pomodoro Technique inspired, is when you reach that good stopping point, you need, again, this balance. You need this time to sort of reflect. And so, like, there have been times literally where I've been like, okay, now I'm going to go mow the lawn because it'll allow me to clear my mind while I'm doing this.
Do you think this is more of a recent? Because the last book, we had a lot of help, and so there was a lot of research, a lot of that, research slog that we were able to maybe field out to other people. But it was still you were really stressed out. I remember about that first.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I mean, and that's why I kind of wanted to do just.
I didn't know you were having, this issue this week.
Yeah, and it was just basically because, like, these are the things you learn, right? This is part of the reason I wanted to just pass on this little message today.
But I knew that you were frustrated with the last book.
Yeah.
Very much so. I knew you were frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in the end, like, these are just the things that you learn along the way. And the more these little tricks that you can have, you know what? I don't even want to call them tricks. It's just more like the more you can be aware of your own state of mind and what's happening, the better you're going to be able to focus. So, I think that's like, I don't really have a whole lot more to say other than that.
Except do housework.
Except, yeah, I mean, now this is the thing I've been putting off. So, who...
Next week is housework.
Next week's will be all about housework. In fact, we will be recording from our kitchen next week.
While Paul's doing housework.
Yes. The producer for Now That's a Great Story Season 2, The Process, is...
Jeffrey Willett.
He has told us that he prefers Jeff.
Jeffrey.
Music comes from...
Jeffrey Willett.
Sonia and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you like this season of Now That's a Great Story, or just getting caught up on the first, the best way to keep in touch is through the newsletter, paulkicksnewsletter.com. There, you'll get even more advice on how to be the best writer and storyteller you can be. In fact, right now, I've got a free PDF for you. The 7 rules top long-form writers follow to make more money from their stories. Sign up for the newsletter and you'll get the free PDF. Head there now, paulkicksnewsletter.com.